What was your experience when you were in divine state?
That's really cool. We call it a oneness state because everything is one. When they want to talk about manifesting, any kind of manifestation, you need three things: frequency, duration, and intensity of the stimulus. Those are the three fundamentals. The main way to manifest anything, folks, is to acquire grace. And all you got to do to acquire grace is make a bond with your divine. Because the ratio from the conscious brain, where you design all your dreams, to the subconscious ratio is a minimum of 1 to 1 million.
How does one get in a relationship with the divine?
It's a lot easier than you'll ever imagine. How do you meet a good-looking woman? You
Just
walk
smile.
up, say hello, and you start to talk, right? So here's the way the divine works, folks. There isn't any one divine. Those days are long gone because you got 8.2 billion people on this planet.
What's up, fam? Before we get into this conversation, let me say this. Look, I know it's a thing, right? But if what we do here on this channel speaks to you, if it lifts you, centers you, or helps you see your life a little clearer, I invite you to like the video and subscribe so you stay connected. And if you want these conversations with you beyond YouTube, download the Thrival Journey podcast on your favorite RSS platform. It is a small ask that goes a long way, and it really, truly helps us create the kind of content that doesn't just entertain, but actually supports your journey of growth and alignment. So hit that like, subscribe. Let's breathe in, get present, step into the conversation. Now, here's a bold statement for you. What if your subconscious is holding on to invisible programs from birth or even before you may be unknowingly blocking your success, relationships, and well-being? So our program, the Thrive World Journey, isn't about hustling harder. It's about removing what drains you so you can live in alignment with who you truly are. And today I'm excited to have Dr. Grant Kruhly with us to explore subconscious patterns that shape our decision-making in business, relationships, and other things. But before we dive into the conversation, I want to hear from you. If you could instantly clear one block or barrier in your life right now, what would it be? I want you to drop your answers in the comments, and I want to see what's really, really important to you. And we are here. I mean, we've had a little bit of a journey before we start the podcast, but I really, really, truly want to thank you, Dr. Kruhly, for being here at the Thrive World Journey. Welcome.
No, it must have been meant to be because here we are.
We are here. And you are in Thailand, so I wanted to make sure that I wanted to give you respect and honor because you are in Thailand. It's early morning there, and you are here on the podcast. So again, just thank you. It's an honor.
No problem.
On our podcast, we try to open up with an intrinsic kind of question. And the question I have for you, before we talk business and healing and all the great things that makes up your life, what is a defining moment in your life that completely changed the way you see the world or saw the world?
God, there's been so many. Okay, I can isolate one for you. In 1991, just prior to graduating from the University of Windsor, because I had gone back as an older man to do my first academic degree. And I was a professional martial specialist at the time. And I was in Dr. Neil Holland's class. It was a transpersonal psychology class. Now, at the time that I entered that class, which was about 45 minutes long, my plan was to graduate in about a month from that time. And I was going to move to Toronto, Canada, because I'm a Canadian. Yes. I was in Windsor. I was going to move to Toronto, Canada, where I was going to pursue a education as a professional deep tissue massage therapist, specializing in Paul St. John neuromuscular therapy. And of course, I already had, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of hours of Aikido and professional Japanese martial craft under my belt, so to speak. And I had it all mapped out. I knew where in Toronto I was going to go and do all the different things that I was going to do. And the class started, and Dr. Holland, he passed away a long time ago, but he was a very famous Gestalt therapist in Canada. And he had us do an exercise where you turn to the guy beside you and you ask the question, tell me who you are. And the question is to be repeated ad nauseum till the person cannot answer anymore. The person asking the question must show no facial expression or response at all. It's got to be like an automated robot. And no matter what comes out of your partner's mouth, whatever he says, you just ask the question again, tell me who you are. So I must have been, there's a couple of things involved. One would be my karmic readiness, and number two, it's a gift from the divine. And with the moment the kid asked me that question, tell me who you are, I went directly into a vertical dive in consciousness all the way down to the state of I am. What is the state of I am? That's your actual reality. And that's when the divine will separate your senses just slightly, because all the senses operate independently. They're not operating at the same time at all. The only reason you think you're hearing me and seeing me and everything at the same time is a function of the human brain. So that makes it easy for you to operate in the world, but it's got nothing to do with reality at all. So when they separate the senses, all time stops. The self is eradicated, and whichever sense you're engaging, that's all you are. And it's a total interpenetration. So if you're listening, there's only the listening. No listener, just the listening. If you're looking, there's only the looking. If you're tasting, only the tasting. So what that means is when the self is removed, all future is gone, all past is gone completely. Therefore, there's no fear whatsoever. It's just pure peace. Number two is there's no expenditure of energy because you're not going anywhere and your brain is not working. It's stopped. The brain will only engage when it's required. So like Eckhart Tolle is an example of an enlightened person. So this was a state I was put in, and it's a state of enlightenment. There are lots of states, and there's a countless number, but it's at least ground level. And I stayed in that state for the duration of that whole class. So it was about 45 minutes long. And fortunately for me, after the class ended, gradually over the next couple of days, I came down from that state. If I had stayed in that state, it's not good because I'm not ready. And instantly, all I knew was I had to leave Canada, move to America, California. I didn't have any idea why. I had no money whatsoever, no job. And my buddy got me the $50,000 necessary to get a visa. I left Canada and everything I knew and everyone I knew with the intention of building a dojo, because I'm a real professional martial artist. I'm not a guy that kicks watermelons and runs around in pajamas.
Right.
I'm a real martial artist, and I carry 3 samurai lineages on my shoulders at this time. I've been training over 46 years. I have over 50,000 hours in Aikido alone. So I want you to understand I'm the real deal. I train United States Special Forces, all those kind of things. Well, anyway, this is only 1991. I'm only 31 years old. The reason I had to go to California, so I landed there with a dogi, a change of clothes, a wooden sword, a wooden staff, and a wooden knife. Didn't know anybody or anything. Had no money, nothing. That was the defining moment, because the reason I was there was to meet the great Sheikh, Maulana Sheikh Muhammad Nazim al-Haqqani, 21st Grand Master of the Naqshbandi Tariqat. He was the Mufti of Cyprus. He's passed away now. He was an actual Sheikh. I had never heard of a Sheikh, didn't have any idea what the hell that was. And I got invited to meet this great man. He was visiting in San Francisco. And when I met him, I loved him and he loved me. And whatever he asks, the divine answers instantaneously. So he asked that I would have my own school, because I had nothing. I had a bicycle, sleeping on floors, and winter was coming. And he prayed for me to have my own school. Within 1 week, a stranger showed up, gave me $40,000 cash. This is a true story. And I built the Dosatsu Ken Dojo in Silicon Valley and it opened in 1994. So I arrived in 1991 when I graduated. 1994, I opened Dosatsu Ken Dojo. That's where I trained the military, Silicon Valley execs. All the work I did was there. So all that whole thing was the defining moment. And it was because the divine put me in that state. And I've been trying to get back to that state ever since, still am. I'm not awakened and I'm not enlightened, so don't misunderstand. None of the other boys are either. All the guys you see on television. The only guy I know that is actually enlightened is Eckhart Tolle. None of the other ones are. Enlightenment, we call mukti, that's a very big deal. That's where the brain shifts from doing to being. And only the divine can give you that. Did I answer your question?
You did. And I mean, like, I have all cylinders are like sparking because there's so many ways, so many questions that can come from this moment. I'm trying to unpack it, but let me do it the best way I know how.
Okay.
You talk about I am. Let's start with the I am. You said when you separate all the senses, it's not you that's tasting, it's just taste, right? Or you're not
Yep.
you're not the listener, you're just listening. So you're in this divine moment, I guess you would call it, enlightened moment.
Yep.
What was let me just start there because you had a journey, but starting there,
Yeah.
what was your experience when you were in that divine state?
Yeah.
You talk about state.
Pardon me. So that's really cool. We call it a oneness state because everything is one. So a long time ago, none of us know when, the one started the journey of becoming the many. Now the journey is reversed. The many going to the one. You may have heard, or some of your followers may have heard of the singularity or something,
Yes.
although they're talking about AI. But
Right.
when you're in that state, there is in spirituality that we say, I am that, because that's what you are. We have three qualities to our actual existence. Existence, consciousness, and the existence and consciousness exists in the state of bliss. So existence, consciousness, bliss. When I was in that state, if I looked at the table where we were sitting, I was the table, and the table was me. There was no separation at all. If I looked at the kid in front of me, he was me and I was him. Exactly. No separation at all. And in fact, I always remember I could see inside his brain. When it was my turn to ask the question, and I'd say, tell me who you are. And the kid would say something like, I'm so-and-so's son. And whenever he answered a question that he thought he was, I would see the little spark jump between the synapses in his brain from one neuron to the other. And he thought that's who he was. Got nothing to do with him at all. But he thought that. And there'd be this little spark. And then when I was in this state, if there was a sound like his voice, that was me. It's unbelievable. But it was so peaceful. For a long time, I lost all fear of death or anything at all. And then I made the statement, it's lucky for me that I came out of it. Why? Well, because I'm not awakened and I can't carry that kind of consciousness and function properly. Because one thing that I remember distinctly, after I came out of that thing, regular life lost all relevance. I mean, it's all silly nonsense, completely worthless. But I can't function at 31 years old. I can't go off into, when you listen to Eckhart Tolle, poor Eckhart Tolle became enlightened. What happens when you're enlightened is the divine goes into the brain and does surgery in the brain, and only the divine can do it. There's nothing you can do to become enlightened. All the kinds of special meditation that they use, like with Dr. Dispenza, nobody's ever going to become enlightened, ever, period. Only the divine can give you that. It's always been that way, it always will be. What they do is they go in and they change the brain. The areas in the brain that are responsible for thinking about the future or the past are disconnected. The areas in the brain just doesn't function that way anymore. and the frontal cortex really lights up very, very powerfully. And they come into the present and they stay, if they're enlightened, they stay there. So what happened with Eckhart Tolle, he was going to commit suicide. If you read his book, The Power of Now, he was going to commit suicide standing at his window, and he starts to pass out because they're knocking him out. And he hears the voice say, resist nothing. And he passes out. When he wakes up, he's fully enlightened. He's remained fully enlightened the rest of his life. But because he didn't have any idea what happened to him, he sat like on park benches and traveled around for 10 years. It took him 10 years to find out what happened. And then he finally realized. So he could sit on a park bench for days on end and not even eat. And he's just living in joy, because enlightened is state of being.
Right.
Just like a tree. You look at the tree, it's not doing something. When you have a self and you have a mind, which is using us, the mind is using us, we're not using the mind. Then we are not in a, I think I just lost my host. Are you there? I lost you for a sec.
Go ahead. I had to fix my mic because it wasn't picking up.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
So these are very different things, and I think I might be losing your audience. So I'll turn it back over to you. You give me some guidance if I'm making sense or not.
You're making sense. So what I want to do, because you have taken like this conversation to just a deeper level, to probably where you live.
I hope that's okay.
No, it's perfectly okay. And thanks for guiding us there, because what I will hope to accomplish is that anyone listening and watching, that wherever they are in their state of being, that they, or if they're in the lower vibration or wherever they may be, that this conversation can help them in wherever they are in their life. And so just by having this conversation like this, like I can sense just like there's no separation. That's what I'm getting. And as you're sharing what you're sharing, I'm like, wow, are we in the same room?
Good.
That's almost
good.
what it's like. So I really hope that anyone that's listening and watching, they get to experience this conversation fully. And I'm going to try to bring it back to them. Like, you're in the state of being. And when you're in a state of being like this, and that's enlightened space, those who are not being able to experience that because they're in the material world, they're looking at all the things in the world that's keeping them from really being able to elevate their minds and their bodies and spirits to a place that you've gone to. What would you say to them to start that journey and letting them realize that all the material things are just material, that we're bigger than that, we're greater than that?
Well, so first of all, the divine doesn't make a separation between material world and spiritual world.
There's no separation.
You can do that if you want, but it's a big mistake. It's not necessary. You could do like a renunciation style and go into a forest and live in a cave, and you never get anywhere anyway, and then you never had a chance to enjoy a nice margarita in a beautiful place with your girl. It's not that the material world there's nothing wrong with acquiring a wonderful life in the material world.
Yeah.
But the trick is like your introduction. It's the way the brain and the way we're wired, the way we're designed. You're not experiencing 99% of the people you see are not experiencing higher levels of consciousness. You think so. And a lot of the spiritual groups around the world, you'll hear them say consciousness is rising. No, consciousness isn't rising. Consciousness is rising in the pockets they're looking at. The general population doesn't have high consciousness at all. That's how they're able to do the scamdemic. That's how they can blanket. That's why McDonald's makes money. That's why everything is a homunculus, because the consciousness is under the ground, and it's not their fault. They're born into the matrix, and everything is all programmed. So we are all biocomputers, and the high self or the enlightened part been discussing, that's inside all of that. The trick is, so Eckhart Tolle is an example of a fully enlightened being. So he can still enjoy a nice home with a beautiful car and enjoy all the things. The trick is he experiences it fully, and the mind is not in between. With you and I, the mind is in between. So what does that mean? If you look at anything, you have like 10 million sensory receptors assigned just to the eyes alone. You have approximately 11 million sensory receptors with a human body and 10 million up to the eye. So when you look at anything, the mind interjects. So if I see a tree, it immediately makes a judgment of the tree, what kind of tree, big tree, little tree, green, red, orange tree, apple tree. Is the naming process. You look at a person, naming process. Nice, small, fat, ugly, beautiful, sexy, is identified. And that is a veil in between. When I had gone into that state and the senses were disconnected, when I'm looking at him, I am him. See, we think that our eyes are seeing, like you and I are looking at each other. No, it's not my eyes and then the process of seeing and then you're there and I'm here and there's a process called seeing and you're there. No. There's no separation at all. That's why I'm a distance healer in Thailand and my clients are all over the world. And as soon as I see them, I can change their brain and their mind in real time right now because there's no separation. And that's all been peer reviewed, that all the science, all the mathematics, that's all been accepted, written up by Nassim Haramein of the Resonance Academy. It's all normal stuff, but the trick is you can see, but can you see seeing? You can hear, but can you hear hearing? No, because it's one. If I look at the sky and myself are exactly one. If we take away me, the sky's gone. For me, the sky's still there for you. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's the first step is understanding it intellectually. Experiencing it directly makes it real. But the first step is understand it intellectually so your brain at least is starting to look for it. The reticular activating center of your brain will start to look for it if it's aware of it. Everything is awareness. If there's no awareness, you'll never see any of these things that I'm talking about. You won't see grace. Once you see grace, you'll see more and more and more of grace. But if you don't know to look for grace, you'll think it's you, or you'll think it's your ego, or it's not. It never was.
You know, I'm so like into what you're saying. I'm perplexed at the same time. So I'm gonna do it the way I understand.
No. Please go ahead.
So when you're stating that there's no separation or there's no difference between you and the sky, right? When that shows up for someone, and I know that most people probably would not even be in this conversation unless the conversation shows up for them, right? In that no separation space, if there is space, it's a state of being, right? You talk about states. It's a state of being. How does that state of being help someone in their life when they're needing to? A lot of people are talking about manifestation these days. How does that help someone in their life when they're needing to bring change or create change or manifest something in their life that will help them to whatever they're trying to accomplish? That makes sense?
I can answer that on so many different levels.
I know. I believe it.
So I broke my back in half when I was 27, weight training. Wow. And I sealed my back in 12 weeks with meditation. And that was verified by CAT scans at Providence Hospital under Dr. Sidney Goldman, long time ago.
12 weeks.
Because I'm almost 70. I'm just shy of 70, so that's a long time ago. Now, how did I do that? So when they want to talk about manifesting. So I want you to write down the words in frequency, duration, and intensity. Because all manifestation, any kind of manifestation, you need three things: frequency, duration, and intensity of the stimulus. Those are the three fundamentals. So if I am going to try to do some kind of manifest something from the field, from the quantum field, I needed a minimum of 12 minutes duration of highly intense, focused state. So I'm going to put myself in a state. And that energetic state, the energy of it, the qualifier is the emotion attached. No emotion, no cigar. So the emotion is the energy state. The duration is 12 minutes. And then the frequency is how many days in a row, or how many years in a row, how many times per day you're going to do that. When I broke my back in half, they told me I was finished. Now, nothing's going to finish me. So, and nobody's going to tell me I'm going to be a cripple or put Harrington rods in my back or any of that other nonsense. So I had the ability, just like when Joe Dispenza was run over by a truck. His is different. Mine is clean breaks on both sides of called pedicles. They snapped in half, and the whole spinal column shifted forward. I don't know if you understand physiology, but sacral promontory, think of it like a plateau. So my whole spine shifted forward, and if it goes too far, it'll fall down in front of my groin.
Yeah,
that was my issue. His issue was crushed bone fragments into the spine. So what I did was I used a meditation. I was living at home, so I had food. I had the ability to do the meditation. Meditation requires a hell of a lot of energy and absolute consistency, because otherwise it's as useless as a fly in Alaska. So I was doing about 4 hours a day, because I'm facing being a cripple and losing my career as a martial artist. I'm 27 years old. And so I got every reason and motivation to do this. And I have all the pain and everything with me. So I got 4 hours a day, and all I did, it's not necessary to rebuild anything or redesign anything in your mind. You just take a photo, like an image, and so I would use an image of myself in top shape in Aikido, and I know how to do that kinesthetically, what it feels like, because I've done a lot of it. And for 4 hours every day, because I've got nowhere to go, I'm laying on a floor, and I would just feel that. See it, feel it, see it, feel it. What happens is, because of the frequency, the duration, and the intensity, and I'm a very intense man by nature, so I imprinted a picture in my subconscious mind, and it does the rest. Why? Subconscious mind has all the power, and it's continuous with the unconscious to the collective unconscious to the universe. It'll draw any amount of power, any amount of information necessary to make sure that you match the picture. So when you listen to Tony Robbins, you look at NLP and any of the new neuroscience, and they'll say your self-image and your self-identity, the subconscious job is to make sure you match that. So that's your target when you want to change something. So as soon as I changed that picture, within 12 weeks, my subconscious completely fixed my back, and everything was all done. I still had to spend the time to undo all of the neurology and compensatory physiology, because your body starts to adapt all kinds of stuff when you get hurt. But the bone structure and everything, it just sealed right up.
Ladies, check this out, because you're going to like what I'm about to say. And fellas, let's talk about it. Energy, your energy, the kind that fuels your focus, your drive, and your confidence in every area of life. So when I started using the Wu Shaman Male Potency Elixir, created by my brother, Celestino Cornell, I noticed something shift. My clarity sharpened, my stamina rose, my focus locked in, And whether I'm training, creating, or pouring into my purpose, I just feel alive. And here's the thing. This isn't about hype or shortcuts. It's about alignment. You know, when your body, your mind, and your spirit are connected, you move through the world differently, right? You lead differently, and you definitely love differently. So that's what this elixir was designed for, to support blood flow, endurance, and presence, so you can show up stronger, centered, and in flow every single day. So if you're ready to recharge your energy, restore your balance, and reclaim your power, go to ooshaman.com/elixir to use code ThriveWell for 10% off your order. That's ooshaman.com/elixir. Step into your sacred strength today. The link and the code is in the show notes. Check it out.
Subconscious will do that. So that's a kind of a manifestation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, the main way to manifest anything, folks, is to acquire grace. And all you got to do to acquire grace is make a bond with your divine. And that's my specialty. So I'm a bhakta, means I do everything literally by the divine, literally. So the divine lives right here with me. When I call my divine is right there. And they'll do the physical miracles to prove that, like eating the food you put on a plate, it'll disappear. Or, the divine this is very available, especially now.
Okay.
The divine is easier to make a relationship with than ever before, because we're in big trouble. World is getting ready to go down. So the divine is working overtime. And once you can ask the divine for grace, the divine will do it for you. It's the divine that does manifesting. You can't do a damn thing. You know how much power you got? Everyone says you got all the power. You got nothing. You're like a little amoeba on the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Because anything that has to happen, the entire universe is involved. So anyone that tells you that they control that or whatever, I used to get guys in California come into my dojo and say, I'm a big manifester. I said, no kidding, that's great. I said, see my hand? Manifest a dot on my hand. Go ahead. Let me see your power. And they used to run out of the door because they can't do nothing. The divine is doing it. The trick is you have a bond or you don't have a bond. And then there is karma. Karma is an entire universe of stuff. And then there is your belief level. There's cognitive dissonance in the subconscious. And then there's the quality. If you're just doing a mental exercise, it will not register. It's got to be at the feeling, emotional level. There's so many qualifiers. That's why you'll see people, they do what I did for 30 years. I've started with Tony Robbins when I was 19. Nothing ever worked. I know every word. I know all of them. The reason nothing ever worked was I had cognitive dissonance. I didn't know that. So as far as business went, nothing ever worked till I got rid of it. I didn't find out about cognitive dissonance till I was nearly 40 years old. The great master Larry Habersky taught me. I apprenticed under him for 8 years and learned about cognitive dissonance. If you don't know those things, you can go to rah-rah, you can have 16 PhDs, it doesn't make any difference. Because the ratio from the conscious brain, where you design all your dreams, to the subconscious ratio is a minimum of 1 to 1 million. Some schools of thought now put it at 1 to 2 million. So what
does that mean?
I beg your pardon?
What does that mean? The ratio.
What does that mean? That's a key question, because it's the human dilemma. Subconscious mind is this. Remember, I told you you're like a biocomputer. So the subconscious mind starts your personal subconscious starts from conception, goes through the womb, the birthing process, the first 6 hours after you're born, which are highly critical. We'll call that the third program. There's 10 programs altogether. Fourth program starts after the first 6 hours until you turn 7. At 7 years old, the fifth program begins, which is when your frontal cortex of your brain activates. You go from a theta brainwave, subconscious brainwave pattern to an alpha brainwave pattern at the age of 7. The subconscious is recording all that time till the age of 7, 40 million bits of information per second, and none of it belongs to you. Nothing.
Right.
It's a survival mechanism the way we're designed. So if you're a child born in a hut on the Amazon Delta to a primitive tribe, you need 10 quadrillion bits of information. By the age of 7, it's about 10 quadrillion. You need that software to be a player in the Amazon Delta, which is very different from a kid born in Manhattan, New York, on the 16th floor of a multi-million-dollar condo. So the information we acquire is specific for our survival. It acts as a software. All of your values, all of the definitions, all of your fears, everything is developed there. And we know from neuroscience, a minimum of 95% of all your life, all of us, is all completely driven by the subconscious mind. Your conscious brain is only active 5% of the day. Okay,
So here's
that's where the
cognitive
dissonance is.
comes.
If your dad, if you picked up something at the age of 3 that says you will never be a podcast host, and you got 16 PhDs and you attended Tony Robbins for 20 years, and you know exactly how you're going to design your show, you'll never be able to do it, because the cognitive dissonance, that other thing from 3 years old, is 1 million times stronger than all your educated brain's ideas. So what I do in depth healing, I can locate exactly where the dissonance is, and I can surgically remove it with surgical precision. And then with the dissonance gone, the program's gone, then your subconscious will endorse your ideas. And when they're endorsed, nothing stops you. And that's the fundamental problem, and that's why all the powers that want to control the world, they know, just like I know how to fix it, they know how to instill that. So everybody is, when you're looking at folks nowadays, they're programmed to the point of, it's just incredible. And that's how you run the pandemic. That's how you do everything. It's just because it's programmed.
Yeah, you had said that we are programmed. So the programs are really, would you say that the programs are instituted based on our environment?
No. The program is based, the subconscious is based on your environment so that you can survive.
Okay.
The programs, everybody and anybody that wants to program you, that's what they're doing. And nowadays, unfortunately, with AI, which I'm not in any way, shape, or form happy about, that was the single dumbest thing. And that's the end of, that'll be the end of everything, because the caveat to that, and if you listen to all of the founders of AI, like Godfrey Hinton and so forth, the caveat to that is the proof that it's be the end of all humanity, is all of the major nations have agreed that there are no limitations whatsoever on the development of autonomous combat robots.
Oh, really?
No limitations whatsoever. Autonomous combat robots. But let's not go down that rabbit hole, because I'll get myself
that's a whole
rewired up.
different program.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about alignment. Let's get realigned with what we're talking about.
Okay.
And you had mentioned depth healing, right?
Yes.
In-depth healing, what is your experience with that? Like, how do people show up, and then how do they leave? Because I just want to give a world of it, like people that's listening that may have depth healing, for them to know what it looks like in their life and why they may really benefit from it.
Yeah. Well, anybody that comes to depth healing for me will benefit always. The only way they can't is if they reject it and don't want it. Okay. Just like Jesus was very powerful, great avatar that came representing God and the divine. And everybody loved him except the Romans, and they killed him.
Mm-hmm.
So, can Jesus change the minds of the Romans? Yes. But the Romans don't want it, so he doesn't intervene. And that's the way that works. But if you come to depth healing, all you have to do is want to grow in your consciousness, heal your body, or change your financial status. Depth healing is called depth healing, and I've studied over 54 years so that whatever you come with, it's equipped to deal with it, period. If it's something that is over my head, I have my direct empowerments with the divine, and the divine will handle it for you. So depth healing is a marriage of applied quantum physics, which is the science part, with mysticism, and I'm the real deal. So I have empowerments through Tibet, I have empowerments through India, and I have empowerments through Japan. So when I tell you that, it's a real deal. So let's say you're an entrepreneur and you have a financial ceiling. You've never been able to get past a certain amount of money. You come to see me, I'll find out why you have a financial ceiling, and we will remove it. If you have a broken heart and you can't get over the guy or the lady, you come to me and I will remove the broken heart. If you have post-traumatic stress syndrome, I will remove it. It doesn't make any difference what it is. That's what depth healing is. And I have there have been a few thousand people who come through my doors. And if you read my testimonials and that, you'll see that this is the real deal. See, the trick is it's all done by frequencies. And the greatest skill I have is I'm not like a psychic or somebody. I have surgical precision. So you tell me what your issues are, and we will go into the subconscious strata and find out why the problem is there. There will be a fundamental initial download somewhere in the subconscious, may go all the way back to the first trimester, where the foundation of that fear or that belief or that problem first initiated. I go back, I start there, I will reduce it, including all of its entanglements relative to what will show up in your consciousness at that time. I erase it. When I'm doing that, that's real time. Then I go up to the very next download specific to that exact question or issue. I disassemble it and remove it. And we go all the way up the scale till you turn 7 or past 7 when the frontal cortex activates. Once I've done that, the foundation in the subconscious that makes the cognitive dissonance is gone. Now we come up to you in present time and we ask the question, is right now in my consciousness on any level, is there an active program that is either creating or sustaining this fear or this problem or this whatever now? We find it, we disassemble it, and we shut it off. Now, every single time I'm doing that, I'm using 2 kinds of frequencies. Destructive interference waves, which eliminate the problem, and constructive interference waves, which are building your system up, raising your consciousness. Throughout the whole process, your brain is reorganizing, subconscious is reorganizing. That changes your perception changes your vibration, and then by the law of resonance, everything changes. That is how depth healing works in a nutshell.
Okay, I like that. When you talk about laws, there's a lot of universal laws, right? The law of
Lots
assumption,
of
law of
them.
what did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
there
lot.
are lots and
Lots
lots
and
of
lots.
laws.
We know a few of them, but
I know a couple.
yeah.
I'm working on it myself. But what would you say to the skeptics out there that would say that this is something
I
that doesn't
couldn't
work?
care less. It's just like a guy that says, a guy says to me, let's see, how is a simple way to say this without getting sarcastic? I've healed and I heal thousands of people every year. I don't give a damn if you believe it or you don't believe it. That's your problem. All the rest of them are already better. If
They're doing
somebody
their thing.
says you can't fight, Kruhly, there's a whole trail of guys all the way back through the years I beat the hell out of them. Well, I can fight. It doesn't make any difference to me. Somebody says, I believe the moon is made out of cheese. Good, knock yourself out. I don't care about that because I do what I do. And any other energy or distance healers, or they do what they do. The
Yeah.
divine is the divine. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people now have unbelievable personal relationships with their divine that would just blow your mind to smithereens. It's incredible. And
It's a whole different world. It's a whole different world, right? If
yes,
you have that
it's a whole
relationship with
different
the
world.
divine.
I'll tell you, when I became a Sufi back in the 1990s, I had my first experience of what that means by a whole different world. Do you know what the reticular activating center of the brain is?
Reticular acting, no.
Okay, so your brain, reticular activating center in the brain will see what it looks for, and if it doesn't look for it, it won't see it, and it can't see it. Like the frontal cortex, for instance, it only receives 40 bits of information a second. Some schools of thought say 40 million bits are coming every second. Some are like 4 billion bits are coming up, but only 40 get through. And they're basically registering the environment, your body, and time. Now,
Okay.
the only thing they're going to register or filter is what they're looking for. So that's what so reticular activating center, they'll often teach you like this. They'll say, if you count how many red cars you see today, and
Yeah.
I'll buy you a steak dinner. So the motivation is the steak dinner, and then the brain will start to search for red cars. It won't notice any black cars. It'll only notice red cars. So when I became a Sufi and I met that great sheikh, I entered for the first time a mystic's world. Prior to that, I had always been interested in the mystics world, but I had never seen anything. I had never experienced mystic stuff like looks like something out of a Harry Potter movie. But once I entered that veil that makes that world invisible to me was removed. And all of a sudden, all this stuff was there, and I never saw it before. And then when I left them in 1996, the veil came back as far as their stuff went. So that's why consciousness is so important. See, everything is in stratus. So if we want, like, let's say we have a high rise and it's 17 floors high. When you're on the ground floor and you look out the window, you can see the hedge, big, nice hedge, but you can't see over it. You go up one floor, you can see over the hedge, but you can't see past that house on the other side. And each floor view is different. If you can get up, 200 stories high, you go to that area that I said where there's no separation between you and anything. So there's only one. But when you go down to the ground floor, all you see is separation.
I see. I get where you're going. Yeah, I get that.
Now there's tricks to that. You can change your consciousness like I did when I moved to Thailand. So let's take wealth consciousness. What is wealth consciousness? It'll completely change your whole world by the law of resonance. All it means is you start to consciously notice and register what you have. You do not notice what you don't have. And you change your languaging. So instead of saying, I can't afford that, you can say something like, I could afford it, but I choose not to right now. If you open up the fridge and you're out of beer, you don't say, I don't have any beer. You say, I'll go down and get some beer. You're always empowering yourself that you can, you have, and then anything you have, you consider it as an asset. So it has value. And what happens is the way the brain works, you need a 3-to-1 ratio to keep the frontal cortex engaged and the amygdala shut off. So the amygdala, while it was designed to keep us alive, it's a little tiny organ, folks, and what it's designed to do is notice danger.
Yeah.
And anything that's negative. That's how they program you on social media now. That's why all the movies are garbage. They love to make real fancy movies that shock you, because the amygdala lights up every time. As soon as it lights up, it drops cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and it's more addictive than cocaine. That's a clinical fact. So the more they can light up the amygdala, so-and-so 16 women just got raped yesterday. So-and-so just dropped a bomb. And if you watch that crap, you're lighting up the amygdala, lighting up. Now, every time it lights up, the blood moves away from the frontal cortex where you think, and it goes to the primitive parts of your brain. You become more unconscious.
Oh, wow.
So to keep this lit up and the amygdala quiet, you need a 3-to-1 ratio. What do I mean? Anytime you get a piece of bad news, like a bill comes in, car breaks, something happens, you need to be able to consciously, notice the word consciously, reframe your attention to a minimum of 3 things that you have, that make you happy, that make you feel secure, that are working. You have to be able to reframe 3-to-1. When you see these guys like Tony Robbins, you see Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, people like that, they have what we call positivity quotient, like 10-to-1, 9, 8-to-1. So when something hits that's a stressor, it doesn't touch them. And what does that mean? Well, if the frontal cortex, when it's lit up, is connected to motivation centers in your brain, and by the law of resonance, your vibration stays up. If your vibration stays up, the universe brings you more. If your vibration goes down, you look at the cortisol's dropping, your frequency goes down, and the universe gives you more. See, the universe only has one word. And when I say universe, I don't mean the divine. Divine is a population that lives in the universe. The universe only has one word, okay, that's all. And it affirms okay in real time all the time. That's why I told you in the beginning of this conversation, frequency, duration, and intensity. You have to try to develop sustained states. Now that's on the microcosm. The thing that runs the universe and runs the world is morphic fields. Morphic fields is a different conversation, and that means collectives.
Yeah, the collective. Yeah. I mean,
That's why I call it depth healing. See, it's deep. There's a lot.
It goes to the depths. There's so much. I mean, there's so much. Like within a world, there's another world in this conversation.
That's right.
And it can't be summed up in the time that we have. So, but I do want to ask for anyone that's interested, like when you talk about the divine, how does one get in a relationship with the divine?
Real easy. It's a lot easier than you'll ever imagine. How do you meet a good-looking woman? You just walk up, say hello, and you start to talk, right? So here's the way the divine works, folks. There isn't any one divine. Those days are long gone because you got 8.2 billion people on this planet. And the one guy over here from South America, he doesn't give a damn about just Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or anything like that. So the divine, think of the divine just like your immune system. Your immune system is made up of undifferentiated antibodies. So undifferentiated antibodies means it's just like a blob. And when a virus or something enters you, the blob will conform and reshape to handle that virus. Now think of the divine as a giant ball of light. We call it the great compassionate light. And it's actually a population, but it's just think of it like a big ball of light, like looking at the sun. You decide who or how you want your relationship to the divine. So if you love Jesus, good. So you make your relationship with Jesus, and you tell the divine, I want to talk to Jesus, I want to know Jesus, I want Jesus to live with me in my home, and I'm going to relate everything to Jesus. Now, and the divine will do that. If you want the divine to be a butterfly, it'll come as a butterfly. The divine does not care. What the divine wants to do is make a relationship that makes you comfortable so that it can be with you, help you, guide you, protect you, talk to you, and it'll do that. So your first job is decide how you want to talk to the divine. Now, to be perfectly frank with you, the divine recommends picking someone like your mom or dad or your aunt or uncle or somebody that you love that's close, so that you relate to them as if that's them, because it's real easy for the divine to do that. And it's also easy for you. Like I've never met Jesus, so I don't know how to make a relationship with Jesus. So I made my divine like my grandpa and my grandma. The female part, the divine feminine, handles the world. The divine masculine handles the consciousness. That's the way that the universe is designed. And so I always pick two. But you pick it to what you want, and then all you do is talk. You just talk. Just like you go up to meet a lady, what do? You don't walk up and make faces at her. You talk to her, you talk. So you tell the divine. It doesn't matter what you want to tell him. When you want the divine to do something for you, like let's say you want proof that it's here, that you're not just an idiot talking to something in the middle of a room. So you tell the divine, I want you to give me a sign that you're here, that you're listening to me, and make it very obvious to me that it's you. I don't want it to look like a circumstance. I want to know it's you. And it will. You have to say it with real feeling, and you have to be sincere. Can't just be a mental exercise. And then, folks, when you want the divine to do something, like solve a problem or something, always give the divine the solution. That's the manifesting part. You want a prayer answered, you give it the solution. And the other caveat is, the more sacredness you start to adopt to make your relationship, the better. The divine likes sacredness, respect, being clean, organizing the vastu. The vastu means your surround. Everything all dirty or cluttered. Very difficult to make a relationship. And then remember, the universe is always watching. So your state of mind and what you believe, all the universe will say is okay. The divine will answer the prayers, and the divine will actually be there with you. The divine actually resides in you right now anyway. It's in your heart. Heart is the key. Heart is everything. Brain is only an instrument. It's actually an antenna array.
Yeah, that's
just an
another
antenna
conversation.
array. There is no mind in a person. Mind is a field.
Yeah.
Very, very, very ancient. And you tie into that.
We could talk for hours. I promise you, we could talk for hours just on that part alone, where the mind is an antenna. But it's the thoughts that we're having are not from necessarily here, right? It's from the field.
No, not at all. They're flowing in and out. They flow in here and they come out on the same level at the back of the head. And it's
field,
just
right?
an antenna array. That's why all meditation methods throughout time and across cultures tell you the same thing. Sit down, be quiet, and watch thoughts come and go. It's because they're coming and going. And the ones that come and go depend on your frequency, your resonance. So Einstein's frequency was attuned for high math. And the guy that becomes a mechanic in Poland, he doesn't pick up that frequency. He picks up another frequency. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes all the
and
sense
you
in
can
the world.
change that.
Yeah.
I change all of that for you with depth healing. We upgrade, upgrade, upgrade.
Yeah, let me upgrade you, as Beyonce says. This has been fascinating from how we first started before the conversation and before we got into the studio to now. I really feel that this was meant to happen and occur, if not for anybody else, for me. Okay,
I
but I
really
know
like you. I hope you have me back because I really enjoy you a lot.
I was going to say that we have to have you back. We'll talk to I'll talk to Yvonne about how we're going to do that, because I truly want to have you on, because there's so much. Like I said, it's world within worlds that from the conversation that we're having, and we're not even touching the just not even skimming the top of the conversation. I think we go much deeper, and we can make
You know what
a
we can
big shift.
probably do?
What's that?
Now that because I tend to go all over the place, and as much as people try to coach me, everything gets entangled for me. But now that you had a taste of this, you can probably decide a specific area you want, or a couple of areas, and then keep me on track, and I'll try to do a good job for you.
Well, you know what? We'll try that, and then I'm okay with how it's going, because that's at the end of it. It really speaks to what the conversation or this episode is about anyway. So it's just anybody that's searching for that next level. I guess you call it next level,
Yeah,
subconscious
it is.
understanding, healing. They'll find this conversation, and they'll resonate with everything that you said, because just through the conversation, there's, I would say, maybe the divine really speaking to people's energies and hearts and souls, and this conversation will make a difference for the people that will be watching and listening. So we'll definitely have you on again,
Oh, I'd love to.
and we'll just go for it again. You know what I mean? Like, just go for it.
Sure.
But you do the healing, the depth healing, and you do it from a distance. And so, how would you just like to share how people could get in touch with you, even though we'll have your information in the show notes?
Well, the thing I'd love them to know is I do a bunch of different things, right? So I will mentor people if they would like. I love to mentor. I do healing on just about any level whatsoever. Doesn't matter what area of life you need healing in. And then I do 2 collectives a month. And the collectives are designed so that it's really affordable. It's only $50. But they work in serial order. I do 2 per month. And they're collectives. So I'm using morphic field physics for that. So we didn't discuss that, but morphic field physics is my real forte. And I'm able to do that for instance, I work with professional sport. I tie into the team in real time during the game, and the coach tells me what's going on. And if they're down or something, I can lift them up. I can change the whole team in real time. That's called morphic field physics. So I do 2 collectives per month, and the objective being by the end of the year, anyone that attended those, they end that year, they're a different person. And I told you there's 10 quadrillion bits of information in a person's subconscious by the age of 7. When I have 100 people, that's 10 quadrillion times 100 for the same question. So it's a very powerful. And collectives are a horizontal healing. Privates are a vertical dive. And then once a month, I do a free full moon ceremony. A full moon ceremony, I'm not doing any healing. I call my empowerments in with the divine. People come on. Prior to that event, they create 2 prayers formally in writing. The first prayer is private for them. Second prayer is collective for the world. And then I bring them on. I tie in the divine. It's amplified by the full moon. The collective itself generates enormous power. Like Muhurta on January 15, 2024, I had 18,000 people apply.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had no advertising. Divine brought those people. So they
Amazing.
it's amplified by the full moon. It's tied in directly to God, and it'll be their personal relationship with their God each time. And then those prayers will be answered by the divine, period. The only thing we don't know is when and exactly how. So what they have to do, they keep those prayers. They never throw it away. And so I do that as a service, and then the collectives and then privates, they just schedule with me, and I take care of them.
And we'll end it there. Thank you, Dr. Kruhly.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
again, thanks for the pushing through and making sure that we had this conversation.
Yeah, you too. You guys found me. Otherwise, I was moving on.
I wasn't letting this go. I was like, as soon as I saw, I can contact him through WhatsApp. There it goes. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So thank you
Good
for
old
responding.
WhatsApp.
And yeah, WhatsApp was our saving grace. So thank you.
Yeah.
And this has been a different conversation for us on the podcast, and I really appreciate it. So again, Dr. Kruhly, thank you so much. And as we always say, let's make thriving our new normal. And
Thank
we'll
you
see
very
you.
much.
You got it. Y'all take care.